Jeremiah. His call story is quite dramatic. It's in chapter 1 of his book. He says, "The word of the Lord came to me saying, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you." I love pausing to think that Jesus is also called the word of the Lord, and that perhaps it is Jesus himself who calls these prophets. I also want to highlight that last bit. It's often used as a proof text to show that abortion is wrong. But I want to point out another way to look at this passage. Notice the word before. Jeremiah existed before he was in the womb. We exist in God and are known by God before our bodies are ever formed. In exactly the same way, we will exist in God and be known by God after our deaths. In Genesis 3:19, when God told Adam, "From dust you came, and to dust you shall return," God was clearly talking about Adam's body, not Adam's life itself. So where did the life that was Adam go when his body died? Well, what if we need to view our identities in pretzel time, the way God sees us? Remember how time is perceived by this culture? Remember how it's like perceived as a sort of folded in pretzel where the past and the future meet in the present and vice versa? This is never more obvious than in the poetry of the prophets. In fact, it's helpful to think of the present time as layers in which past, present, and future mingle freely, as if they have porous boundaries. What if, like Jeremiah, God knows us even before we are ever conceived? What if we become dust for a while and our life, the person God already knows, inhabits that dust body for a time? And what if, when that dust dissolves, that life simply continues knowing God and being known by God? What if the bigger picture is that from love we come and to love we shall return? That seems to me to be what God desires more than anything, right? An unbroken chain of being together. The whole biblical record, all the law and all the prophets point to God always wanting to draw us to himself. And the law and the prophets are consistent with the New Testament as well. Paul preached that it is in God that we live and move and have our being here on earth in these bodies. It's in God we live and move and have our being. We are so much more than just a body. So what happens if we telescope all three pretzels together into a single God moment? What if we all exploded into being in God's great creation and have existed in the mind of God, in the womb of God since creation, and will exist in God forevermore? This makes so much more sense to me than trying to demarcate exactly when physical life begins or ends. The existence of physical life is often fuzzy at both ends of the spectrum. It's only medical technology and social convention that define when this dust is officially alive or officially dead. And it makes sense that the dusty earthly body portion of our lives is subject to medical and social convention, which changes over the centuries. Our identity in God is far, far larger and more eternal than what happens to our physical body. The physical body is not worth fighting over. We should gladly lay it down for the welfare of someone else. A person's identity and being is not in any way diminished by having a disabled body or by having been miscarried, either by abortion or by other circumstances. Our identity and being is neither made greater nor diminished by what happens to our bodies, either good or bad. Our bodies are clothing for our souls. Jesus said there is no greater love than to lay down your life for a friend. And he's talking about our physical bodies here. And he's talking about laying our physical body down for our friends, just friends, not even for some noble cause or for a family member we love. Jesus is absolutely right. Our dust body is something expendable we can lay down for our friends as an act of love. What happens in our souls, in our beings, how we face towards God or not, how we care for each other, those are the important things, not the dust. Murder is wrong because it is an outworking of hatred, jealousy, and power-mongering in our souls. It tears at the fabric of trust and care and love in society. As with everything God related, the issue is with the heart involved.